Hey guys, you might wonder why I'm wearing a gaming headset. Well, I think that I've noticed that kids are far more likely to pay attention to a video when the subject in the video is wearing a gaming headset. So I decided to give this a shot. I was out, obviously, yesterday taking notes during the three games. First off, you guys did a fantastic job. Really played well. Very proud of you guys. I don't know how often I'll get to do this, but I wanted to be able to go over some things that I noticed yesterday. I ended up actually with a little over 2 pages of notes of some things, little things that make a huge difference in the game. Our goal when we played a game of baseball is, we're not necessarily playing our opponent. Okay, a lot of times people get caught up in the opponent. We're trying to play the perfect game. Okay, if we can play the perfect game, fight the perfect fight, more often than not, things are going to turn out in our favor if we take care of our stuff, our jobs, our responsibilities better than the opponent does. Really, we're playing the ball. Okay, you don't play the opponent in baseball. You're playing against the baseball in essence. We just more or less take turns putting the ball in play, and try to make sure we're doing the right things. Going to go over a few things here. I'm not going to go over everything that was on my list. Otherwise, this will be a 30-minute video. But I wanted to go over some things good and bad that ultimately, a lot of times, a lot of the things that make a big difference in a game and in a team's performance, people don't notice. Everybody notices the hits. Everybody notices, the strikeouts, the walks, the errors, all that stuff. But there's a lot of things that lead up to those things, or things that turn out to be very key plays that people miss. And those are things that we want to make sure that we cover and make sure that we focus on. First thing, we got off to a great start yesterday. In Britain, you did a fantastic job. First 4 pitches of the game were strikes. 5 of the first 6 pitches really came out of the gate attacking the zone. Okay, and that's something that we want to make sure that we do as a pitcher. Okay, get out there, challenge hitters, attack the zone, make them put the ball in play, trust your defense. So we really got off to a good start in game 1 because you did that. Pitchers, one thing that we've got to get better at, okay, and I'm going to get catchers involved in this a little bit too, is a little bit of our PFP work. Okay, pitchers fielding practices is what PFP stands for. But anytime a ball is hit to your left, okay, you deliver a pitch, ground balls hit to your left side, first baseman, second baseman, your first instinct is to start heading to cover first base. Okay, and obviously we got to work on the technique of that some. But basically every ground ball that was hit to the left side today yesterday didn't matter who we had on the mound. We kind of hesitated getting over there. We got to immediately think, hey, I've got to cover in case our first baseman has to range too far from the bag to make that play. Catchers, anytime you see that, okay, you see a ground ball headed to the first baseman, pitcher's got to cover. You're yelling at your pitcher, get over, get over, get over. 3 times, super loud. Communication is very key in baseball, and ultimately the catcher is the number 1 communicator. Okay, everybody's got to communicate, but our catcher's got to be the guy leading everything on the field. So as soon as you see that ground ball headed to the right side, headed to the first baseman, you recognize that your pitcher's having to get over. You're yelling at him, get over, get over, get over, 3 times really loud. But pitchers, make sure you anticipate that, and you're already on your way. Overall, our infield played fantastic yesterday. I thought you guys really did a nice job of attacking ground balls, not sitting back and let the ball play you. You guys were coming to get the ball, playing very aggressive, catching it and getting rid of it. Really had some nice highlight plays. We did a good job communicating first baseman and second baseman. There was one ball that was in the kind of in the middle, and Brett, you started to head over to field that ball, realized you weren't going to get there, immediately put the brakes on, got back. I believe Perrin was at second, fielded the ball, you got back to the bag, he flipped it to you, we got the out. So that was a great job communicating there and recognizing that situation. Next thing here, a bunch of times, multiple guys, pitchers, we had that when the opponent has a runner on third base, a lot of times, especially in youth ball, you guys like to go from the windup. Okay, you'll never see that. Okay, you'll never see that. Anytime there's guys on base, we always got to be out of the stretch. Okay, there's no time with runners on base that we're going to go from the windup. When there's only a guy on third, it's not as big of a deal, but it is a huge deal when there's a runner on second base, okay? Because if there's second and third and you're in the windup, the guy on second can get a huge secondary, huge lead, or huge primary lead, huge secondary lead, and he's easily going to score on a base hit, easily, okay? We have to make sure we're in the stretch so he can't get such a big jump. And even if you give up a base hit, they may have to hold him at third, or we may throw the guy out at the plate. But we cannot, under no circumstance, pitch out of the windup with runners on any base, even if it's just a guy on third base. We've got to make sure we run hard at all times. Okay, there was 2 or 3 times over the course of the day yesterday that guys either popped the ball up or hit a comebacker to the mound, and we didn't run hard. Okay, that's one thing that absolutely can never happen. You will make errors, you will make mistakes, you'll make mental mistakes, you'll throw balls away. Things like that are going to happen. There is never a time where we should not run hard. And when I say that, I'm not, we're not talking fake hustle. All right, nothing drives me nuts more than, a guy fouls the ball over to first base dugout and he's busting it down the first baseline. That's a foul ball. Okay, ball's nowhere close to being in play. We're not mandating that when a ball's 50 feet foul, you guys are busting it down the first baseline. But when the ball's in play, we got to make sure we're running hard. Next thing here, understand pop-up communication, especially on the infield and even on foul balls. We had a situation where they popped the ball up in foul territory, probably about 2/3 of the way down the first baseline, and our pitcher came over, and at first base we weren't very aggressive coming to get the ball. Preferably, and this is not the big leagues where guys are hitting pop-ups 9 miles in the air and there's plenty of time for the infielders to catch the pop-up that's right at the mound and all that. Pitchers do have to be an athlete and catch pop-ups. But if you're a first or third baseman and there's a pop-up in foul territory on the home plate side of the bag, it's a lot easier for you to make that play coming in than a pitcher coming across the field trying to make that catch on the run. So understand that that's your priority, or you have priority there. Your responsibility is to try to come as hard as you can and call your pitcher off and let them know that you can make that play. There was a couple times where there was wild pitches and our pitchers didn't cover the plate. Okay, a couple things on that. Number one, realize, now obviously that's a little bit smaller backstop than what we'll play on a lot of times. But, if there's a guy on second base and there's a wild pitch and he comes to third, if we're playing on a high school field with a deeper backstop and that ball kicks around, if we just completely hang out on the mound, even in that situation, that guy can score all the way from second base. All right, if our catcher doesn't find the ball right away and we've got nobody covering. So not saying that when the guy's on second going to third, you got to sit there and bust it straight to home plate, but do start coming to the plate, just knowing that hey, if something funny happens behind the plate, can't find the ball or whatever, we are there in the event that something out of the ordinary happens. Obviously, if a guy's on third, you got to immediately get to the plate hard. Second piece there is when we do have a wild pitch with a runner on third, when we've got trail runners, okay, and this is something that I can't tell you how many times we've done as an offense, but let's say that we got second and third and pitcher throws a wild pitch. Well, obviously the guy on third base is scoring. Guy on second's moving to third. Well, catcher will turn around and throw the ball back to the pitcher, and he'll throw it past the pitcher into the middle of the infield, and there's nobody there, and we end up scoring 2 runs on a wild pitch because our guy on second doesn't assume that, hey, I'm just going to advance to third and it's over with. He's coming hard, he's thinking round, and if that ball's thrown away. Defensively, we have to make sure anytime we're in that situation, when there's that wild pitch, the first baseman needs to sprint to the front of the mound. Okay, that way if the catcher throws the ball back to the pitcher at home plate and it gets by him, you're there as a backup so that trail runner can't come around. On all those yesterday, we had nobody in the middle of the infield. Thank God we never ended up in a situation to where we threw back for a play and there was nobody, and we throw it away and there's nobody there to back it up. Our body language, okay, and we didn't do a bad job with this, okay, we didn't do a bad job by any means. We're actually pretty good, but there was a couple times where, something happened to a guy, whether he struck out, made a mistake in the field of some sort. Don't hang your head, okay? If you watch a big league game, those guys make mistakes, okay? They make mistakes, but they want the next ball hit to them. They don't, they're not sulking. They're not continuing to think about it to where it affects them on the next play. They make mistakes. What they're so elite about is how they move on from that mistake, how they move on to the next play. When something bad happens, you got to immediately flush it and let it go and move on. I talk about having a poker face, whether you're a hitter, pitcher, okay, you should never let nobody should be able to look at you and look at your demeanor and look at your facial expressions and tell whether you're dominating, getting dominated, feeling good, feeling bad. You should always look the same, okay? Baseball is a game that's played at an even level, even keel. We try to want to avoid the getting too high and getting too low during competition, okay? Make sure that we maintain good body language at all times.